I am making sourdough starter. I have my yeast. And my sugar. And my warm water. This is the best invention ever made. I love my thermometer. It just has made bread baking so much easier. Okay, combining everything in a bowl here. And then I have my flour. All right, now we're gonna mix all this together. Cover it with plastic wrap, leaving a little hole in the top so that it can have air. And then we're going to let this ferment. Okay, well, gotta love plastic wrap, huh? Okay, I am making my sourdough bread. Now, I make my sourdough bread with yeast. I know full good and well that's not traditional sourdough bread, but I don't want to wait 6 to 12 hours for my sourdough to rise. So I add the yeast. This way I still have the sourdough flavor, but I have the fast rising time regular bread, okay? So I've got my sugar in there and my yeast and hot water. I'm gonna make sure my yeast activates here. Now, this yeast is from 2023 and it is now 2025, so it is 18 months past the date for this, almost 19 months. So it's brand new though, and usually if your yeast is expired and it's not open, you can use it. But just in case, I'm gonna wait for my yeast to get all bubbly here and make sure my yeast is working. Okay, you can see here my yeast poofed a little bit, but not a ton. So I just made another batch of yeast just to make sure my yeast is working. So I'm gonna pour that in there. Yes, it's an extra half cup of water, but that's all right. It's not gonna hurt anything because I needed water and milk. So I just put the water in and I'm adding dry milk. Yes, I know this is not following the directions exactly, but I needed to use up this dry milk. So I am going to go ahead and put that in, and then my salt. Got that in. And the correct way to do this is to take your milk, sugar, salt, and butter, margarine, and your water and put it all together and microwave it if you want. But I just didn't feel like doing it that way because you kind of get into a groove of making bread your own way. And so follow directions, it's fine, but I probably should, since this is a teaching video. I know I'm gonna have people yelling at me because they always do. But, but melting my butter real quick here. Got my butter melted. And then I have my sourdough starter. Alright. Got my sourdough starter. Give it that sourdough flavor everyone loves. for my flour. All right, I'm gonna start off with 4.5 cups of flour. And then I'm gonna add, up to around 6 cups, give or take. And then that will bring me to a stiff dough. Wow, I got pretty close. Now, I like kneading my bread in my bowl. You don't have to, you can do it on the counter if you want. I just find it saves cleanup. I just get it all started. Sometimes I'll move from the bowl to the counter, but even then it's usually not as much cleanup. Okay. Now, I'm sure you will find in the comments lots of nasty comments about how I don't make the sourdough bread correctly and it's not authentic and all that. Listen, if you want to go ahead and not use yeast and let your sourdough bread rise for 6 to 12 hours, you go right ahead. I don't care. I just ain't got time for that. And I don't really want to take time for that. But if it was an emergency situation and I didn't have yeast, I would be more than able to make bread. That is about a perfect bread of dough. Batch of dough there. Wow. So that's right about 5 cups of flour. Now, some flours are drier than other flours, so you'll need more or less flour. Just kind of depends. Also, the humidity in the air makes a difference. Not like it does for candy making, but it does for bread a little bit, not a ton. And then I just knead. I had a few people asking me how to knead bread. Okay, got your loaf there. Push down, bring it together, turn it over, down, flip and push, flip and push. Okay, so then if it's sticking to here, add a little bit more flour. I'm just adding a tiny bit because it's not sticking at all, hardly, just to show you. Push down. Sometimes I do 2 pushes before I turn it. And then I turn it, and that's how you do it. You just push down, and turn. Push down, use the palms of your hand, push down, and turn. Push down, turn, push down and turn, push down and turn. All right, so now, just so I don't dirty another bowl, I spray my bowl, plop in my dough, and now we're gonna let this rise for an hour. And I turn my oven on for about 5 minutes to get it warm, just around 100 degrees or so, and then I put my bread in there so it has a warm place to rise in the winter in Wyoming where it's cold.
Mom, are you meaning to be like still recording?
Oh no,
Oh.
you recording me? All right, I have my sourdough bread has risen. And now I'm going to make it into 3 different kinds of bread. Okay, so punch it down and get it about the same. So a third there and a third there. Okay, so I'm gonna put just a little bit more on this one. Okay, so the first one we're gonna do is plain. So we just punch it down, roll it under so it has a smooth top like that. And there is the plain one. The next one I'm gonna do is, oops, where'd it go? Oh dear, I did the wrong one. Okay. Next one we're gonna do is we're gonna roll this one out and we're gonna make cinnamon bread. Would anyone in my family like cinnamon bread? Perhaps. Perhaps, maybe. Okay, and then take your butter or margarine and spread it on here. All right, now we got our cinnamon and sugar. We're going to roll this up. Now I've never rolled it this way, so I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just give it a try and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to roll it up. Then I'm going to turn it in to a little ball also. Oops, maybe. Okay, so now we're going to fold that all on itself and try that one. We'll see how that goes. So, just so you know, I have a baking sheet here. So here's one cinnamon, and here's the regular. And then my son has been begging me for cheese bread. The wonderful mother that I am, I'm going to mix in some cheese. Just knead it into the dough for him. And I'm kind of picking up the dough that comes out on the counter as I mix it in, knead it in. This distributes the cheese all evenly. Hopefully. And now, I'm going to form that into a nice little loaf. All right. Now, I have my 3 loaves and we're gonna let these rise for an hour. Okay, I have them risen and now they're going into the oven at 400 degrees. Okay, my sourdough bread is done. All right, just took some butter and rubbed it all over the top. Oh, yum. That looks delicious. I'm gonna let that cool and then we'll cut it. Okay, there are my sourdough breads. The cinnamon. Whoa, that looks yummy. Okay. Here is the cheesy. Ooh, ah. And And here is the regular. Ooh. Ah. Okay, do you want to taste test sourdough to see if you like homemade sourdough better than store-bought sourdough?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
So I was telling Mom the other day that I don't like any store-bought sourdough, so we'll see.
He does not. Okay. Here is homemade cinnamon sourdough bread. What does thou thinkest?
That's pretty good, actually.
Is it darn tootin' good though?
Pretty darn tootin' good.
Ah, okay, do you want to try regular now?
Sure.
Now we have regular. Let's see if it's darn tootin' good or just good.
Mmm. It's good too. It's really darn tootin' good. From our Dining on a Dime cookbook where you can eat better and spend less.
Volume 2 or something. Okay, now try the cheesy. That's not the cheesy.
Oh. It's so good. I
Just keep going.
It's really good. Is there garlic in there too?
No,
Oh,
I just did cheesy, not cheesy garlic, just cheesy.
well, that's really good too.
You're just so used to us having garlic cheesy.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
pass the test.
Yeah. It's
Yay.
not like I always remember the store-bought stuff being kind of like sour or like bitter, you know?
Yay!